Hi, I'm Ginger Grancagnolo, and welcome again to our Living Proof series. The idea here is to just talk about some issues and concerns, things that go on in our lives, and perhaps give a new perspective, one that feels more grounded, one that is more positive, something that really helps us to move through our daily lives with a sense of stability, a little bit more than perhaps what we have been feeling. So today, how appropriate, perhaps. The title is, So How's Your Frustration Levels Been Lately? We have certainly been bombarded with cold and weather conditions and polar vortex, like we've never even heard that word before until now. And snow and shoveling and snow and shoveling. At one point I thought it was going to be a new Olympic sport that we could all engage in and get a gold medal for, I'm sure. So let's look at that, because even though it looks just like a grit frustration, I can't take it anymore, come on spring, at least change the clocks so I don't feel like I'm getting up and going to bed and feeling like a mushroom. Let's look at the frustration levels. What's really been going on in the past couple of months? First of all, we have had a very intense winter for sure. It got cold very quickly, and it snowed very quickly, and it continued, and is still continuing. And this is the beginning of March, and the likelihood of more snow is probably there. So we have an elongated time frame that is causing us to feel more and more limited. Look at just what ice is. Ice contracts. It's frozen. It freezes into bricks and blocks. Not so movable. Look at what happens when it's warm. That same H2O molecular configuration now becomes smooth flow, streams, river. The trickle, the sound of it even feels good, of moving water. It flows. It makes us feel more at ease. So what we have been experiencing in our core is a boxed-in, limited feeling. The more we get limited, the more we get limited, the more we get limited, the frustration gets higher. We don't have much freedom. Now, let's try to peek behind the universe's eye if we can. Given the principle that everything that happens in life is from the beloved, is from the divine, Lord of all good, all loving, why would Creator God put into our agenda at this particular time an energy pattern that keeps constricting, even though the nature of God itself is freedom, dynamism, flow, moving. Okay. If it snowed one time, even if it was a blizzard, 3 feet, whatever it was, if it was cold a day, 2 days, truth about it, we'd be inconvenienced a little bit, and we'd get back on track. The fact that this has been so long, the awareness of our threshold for frustration has now shifted. I once read something from Maya Angelou, actually. She said, if you want to know the character of a person, check what they're like when they've been snowed in for too long, and also watch what they do when they're trying to untangle the Christmas lights. That our true character gets really shaken when we're too limited, no freedom, no outlets. We can't be distracted. We can't, there's only so much you could do. There's only so many rooms you could walk around in your house. There's only so many movies you could watch. After a while, then, even the popcorn gets stale. So what is really happening? I believe what's happening is that the theme of a lesson is coming through and giving us an opportunity to pay attention to that frustration threshold level. Because the shorter the frustration fuse, if you will, the shorter the trust in the process of life, the shorter the trust in the safety of God. We get limited, we feel out of control. We feel boxed in, we're not free. We look, what am I going to do? How am I going to go to the store? How am I going to walk? How am I going to do this? I can't drive my car. There's ice patches everywhere. We feel out of control, and the interior of us gets really shaky. When someone has put so much emphasis in outside controls that seem to keep them free, they're basically distractions, it means they haven't paid a whole lot of attention to their insides. When someone has been more used to moving within, praying, meditating, anchoring in spiritual principles, understanding the process of life, that there's no accidents, that everything is safe, that it is by a higher power, it is all for the good. Even in a crisis, there's so much good that comes out and keeps coming out. When that person experiences these limitations, as we've been having through the weather, what happens to that individual? They get frustrated, and then it diffuses. They get frustrated, and they might meditate more. They get frustrated, and they go, all right, God, help me out here. What are you trying to say? What's my lesson at the moment? They turn the frustration into an inner dialogue with the presence of God so they can navigate through it in a much better way. When someone's not used to doing that and having that focus of attention and control from inside, not outside, they're lost. Now they're in this big abyss inside themselves, and they don't want to look at what they don't want to look at. In fact, that's why they have spent so much time in distraction, shopping, eating, this, that, accessorizing, spending, doing this, running, socializing, but too much. They never come home to the center of themselves. They feel out of balance, and they feel frightened even more so because this feels like a foreign territory to them. So the lesson seems to me, quiet down. No matter what the weather is doing, take the opportunity more and more and more to be in silence, to be in quiet, to learn the gifts of what it feels like to not have distraction. There is more freedom in a simplified life with less distractions than we could ever imagine. This is the goodness of the winter. This is really the lesson. Look at nature. When you have the bears that hibernate, and then they come out, and look at what's going on with them. They're vital, and they're strong, and they're robust, and there's something to say about that. And you know, even when we talk about winter, we usually call it the dead of winter, and we think spring to be the first signs of life. The truth, the blanket of cold, the blanket of snow is protecting the germination of the seeds way deep underneath the surface where we can't see. And then when the thaw happens, and then when nature's hand goes to the next stage and the next phase, spring happens and we see the green shoot. But that's not the first sign of life. The first sign of life was underneath, in the dirt, under the snow, under the ice. I think it's time for us to perhaps take the model of that and use it in ourselves, where we can say, okay, I need to make my new beginning, my new relationship, my new dialogue with God in a more ongoing way, that I'm really partnering with God more and more and more, so that I can change my lifestyle. When spring comes, I will be new, I will be robust, I will be different, because I've learned the message, perhaps, underneath the cold, underneath the snow, that God needs to be our first priority and not our last resort. So I pray for all of us at this time that we are able to appreciate the beauty of the wonderland.